Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to PSGL. We are here for what could be a decider in the PSGL F2 Championship. My name is Evan Dalton. Hope you are having a good evening. It is I suppose you could say a long-awaited return. It's quite a lonely return. It is just me on commentary duties this evening. It is a fairly lonely one here in the commentary box at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, but what an evening of racing we are in for. This should be an absolute classic as we head under the night sky of Saudi Arabia for, as we said, potentially a title decider. And bringing you more on that, let's take a look at our championship standings. This could be a real interesting race as we see Jerry Van Bussel may well seal his PSGL F2 title this evening. He needs to avoid being outscored by Devon by 6 points, so if Devon's job this evening is to outscore Jerry by 7 points, if he fails to do so, Jerry will win the Drivers' Championship. You can see it is Devon in second position, followed by Lars, who is in third. It's in Black Box in fourth position, with Johan in fifth. It'll then be Nuth who takes sixth, followed by Will Murdoch in seventh. Will, coming into this race after being made an Olympian. Yes, Will has qualified for the Olympic Series on Gran Turismo 7. We wish him the best of luck with that. It's ERT Kieran, then in 8th, followed by Aries in 9th. It's then Bradders in 10th position, with Gabrielle in 11th. It is then Ron, Tyne, Yabrika, Ryan, Twist, Yossi, Mali, Renz, and Krypton. Your top 20 here in the championship. But we're almost ready to go then here in the Jeddah Corniche circuit. It should be an absolutely unbelievable race here around the circuit that debuted in 2021. Construction was just finished on this track literally days before we first went racing for that very dramatic 2021 edition of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It is the second longest circuit on the Formula 1 calendar, only behind Spa-Francorchamps. It is, of course, a 6.174 circuit, which we are going to take a brief look at now. 6.174 kilometers, 3.836 miles, 27 corners, 16 to the left and 11 to the right. 79% of the lap is taken at full throttle, although it seems so much more in your average speed around here. One of the highest on the Formula 1 calendar. It is a whopping 245 kilometers per hour. But we're almost ready to go then here in Jeddah, and I say almost. That means exactly, because qualifying is now underway for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I do apologise if you can hear any noises in the background, and there's actually thunder and lightning over this little commentary box in the Republic of Ireland at the minute, but it should be perfectly fine nonetheless. Let us know down below your predictions then for qualifying, as we see our first car coming out on circuit now. That is going to be the Haas of ERT Kieran, who will take the quite tricky pit lane out here. I believe the PSGL stewards allowed to cut the inside there, but certainly not that white line on the outside, as Kieran is going to get proceedings underway here in Saudi Arabia. It is, of course, an unbelievable piece of construction work here in Jeddah. It certainly took a lot of manpower to get this one up, and look, let's get the pointless facts out of the way here in the early parts of qualifying, shall we? It took, a drumroll please, 1,400 tonnes of glass, 37,000 tonnes of asphalt, and 600,000 tonnes of cement were used in construction of the circuit. There is 200,000 metres of power fibre cables were laid for the lighting of the track, and 2,000 new trees were planted around the complex. So look, it's good for everybody, but that's your pointless circuit facts out of the way for this evening then, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get down to business, shall we? Jerry Van Bussel is looking to complete what has been an unbelievable season here in PSGL. He's been phenomenal. He's won every race but one since the fourth round of the season. Did not win it last time out in Budapest. It was the newly debuted Tyne who finished in 9th position on debut in Mexico, but did take the win last time out in Hungary. Tyne, of course, being promoted from my championship, PSGL F3. They stole them from me, but glad to commentate on the ever-speedy Dutchman once again. Here comes Kieran then, in towards the first corner. It's a flick to the left and then in towards the right. You use about 4th gear and trying to run as close to that wall as you can. The curbs, of course, changed on this game from the first edition of the circuit on the Formula 1 2021 game. Kieran running right close to the wall here. The Haas usually fairly nippy in qualifying. It's the races where Kieran's unfortunately been very lacklustre this season, and he's not got the results that he would like due to his very high standards. And if you want to count that as a commentator's curse, because it absolutely was, Kieran unfortunately invalidating his lap and going off to the runoff where we've seen Nicholas Latifi and Lance Stroll have incidents in the past. Will Murdoch then, a new Olympian. Obviously not on the F1 game. He invalidates as well. This is going to be one of these evenings, isn't it? Newt, let's see what he can do. Flicks into the left-hander. That is, of course, turn number 4. And then into the sort of bobsleigh track-like middle sector. He's invalid as well. There's a lot of drivers struggling here in the early parts of qualifying. Jerry Knott is only coming out on track now to make his first appearance here in Saudi Arabia. Krypton's managed to navigate the first sector much better than those before him. We've seen invalidations all across the field so far. Will, Newt and Kieran all invalidating so far here in qualifying for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, but we'll stick on board with the head steward of PSGL and the tier admin here in the F2 Championship and driving the Red Bull racing machine. He's 20th in the driver's standing, so looking for every single point he can get to try confirm his place in F2 for a second consecutive season. Of course, was in F3 last season, was in F2 the season before. It's been very yo-yo-like for Krypton in terms of his tier placement. Did a 1 minute flat in the middle sector. Shazoo Ron will get times underway here in Jeddah. It's a 1:27.925. Is Krypton able to equal or go better? He heads through the final corner, which Red Bull will be having some nightmares about, but look, that happened later in the session, and Krypton navigates it well here the first time. Krypton across the line, then very close to Ron at the top. That is a decent run by Krypton. It's close, but no cigar, as they would say. It's going to be Johan across the line next. I say that, he's actually invalid. It'll be his teammate NLD Renz next across the line. Hooked onto the left-hand side. Not allowed to cross that white line in Formula 1, but this is not Formula 1. And Renz goes to the top. OP Ryan then going to third for Mercedes. It'll be the Aston Martin of Xavi next across the line. The Aventas Racing representative goes to the top here, as it will be Zorzo next across the line for Alfa Romeo Sauber. Very close middle sectors from all these guys, but unfortunately that will be bottom of the time runs so far. Next will be the man looking to take his driver's title. It'll be Jerry Van Bussel, who sets on his way here in a qualifying run. Twist will be next, also just starting his lap, as Yossi will be next across the line. He has gone almost best of anyone in the middle sector. A decent run from Yossi. Is this able to beat Xavi at the top? No, it's within the same tenth of a second, and it is a Aventas Racing 1-2 so far here in qualifying. Lars then next across the line, as that's not the start Jerry Van Bussel would have wanted. That's a spin through sector number 1. That is heading into the very fast left-hander. That's turn number 7, I believe. That's not how Jerry would want to get things underway here in qualifying for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Big hello to your usual commentator James, who's in the stream chat. If you miss the sound of James's northern voice, you can catch him at 8 PM for the PSGL F1 Championship. He'll be joining Aidan Carter for that one, I believe. You can also tune into the F3 Championship at 8 PM. I kind of have to give some promo for my own tier, don't I? But don't go anywhere for now, because we have an excellent race on our hands. Twist then, 1:01 in the middle sector. That's a purple and a best of anyone as the AlphaTauri. Heading through the lefts and rights, and then it is a long run down towards the final braking zone of turn 27. Most amount of corners on any Formula 1 circuit ever. Twist then heads through the left-hander and accelerating out of the final corner. Here comes the AlphaTauri. Is this able to challenge his teammate, or even better, challenge Xavi at the top? He goes just behind his teammate Lars, and that's 5th position for Twist. No run, of course, going to be put in from Jerry Van Bussel. He did have that spin in the middle sector, and that'll be the first laps completed, I should say, here in F2. An interesting first couple of runs there. It's Xavi on top with Yossi in seconds, then Renz, Lars, Twist. That's your top 5 here for the F2 Championship. I was going to say F3. It's absolutely not the F3 Championship. This is definitely PSGL F2. And you can see Newt coming in, and that Newt actually did that lap on a 2-lap old tyres compared to the 1-lap old tyres around him. That's because he invalidated his first lap, of course. We saw him invalidate just heading through the right-hander of turn number 10. Big crash for Mick Schumacher there, of course, you'll remember. in the 2022 qualifying for the Formula 1 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, but made a similar mistake, wasn't as punished through that sector. Will Murdoch then is the next man on a run as he's heading through the fast lefts and rights. Wasn't sure if he was racing this evening, but he made the decision to do it nevertheless. And as he said himself, he's doing some victory laps here this evening as he heads into the slightly banked turn number 11. I say slightly, as Will struggling a little bit with that banking. He almost found that right-hand side wall. That's absolutely not what he would have wanted. He's almost found that right-hand side wall as well. And just look at the rear sliding through that corner. Not necessarily what you want, but Will managing it okay. We saw a 1 minute 1 by twist in the middle sector. That was the best we saw ourselves, but obviously Xavi and Yossi going quicker. Will with a 1 minute 9, so slightly off the pace here, but that will be due to that mistake heading through the very fast carousel section of 15, 16 and 17. Heading down towards the final couple of corners. I do apologise if you can hear the thunder through my microphone, because my goodness me is it loud in the background. Hello, Will! Oh, he's had a snap through that final corner. Does that remind you of anything, ladies and gentlemen? Because it reminded me of something. Will Murdoch is only going to stay 12th. He's a second and 2 off the pole time. And look, he's going to go much quicker than that, isn't he? Now with the Red Bull of Krypton. Heading through this middle sector. Let's just ride on board and have a listen to this Red Bull roar heading down to turn number 11. Two-tenths of a second found in the first sector for Kryptonite. Can he find much more in the second? Heading through. Such a high-speed section of circuit, isn't it? It is ferociously quick through here. He's found almost 3.5 as Kieran has disconnected from the session. Hopefully we can get him back in. The Red Bull looking to try and find more time down in towards turn number 27. Here he goes then through the final corner. This has not been the shabbiest of laps from Krypton, I must say. This has been a fairly decent performance from him. Up and across the line. Here comes Kryptonite. That's going to put him in 6th position, which is a very decent lap from the Red Bull. It's the Alfa Romeo running behind. It's not Devon, it is Zorzo who starts a lap. Devon, of course, is the man who must outscore Jerry Van Bussel to keep this championship alive. But definitely keep an eye on that McLaren. He is going to have another word to say here in qualifying. Here comes Devon then flying through the final corner. He is just starting a run. Is Yossi on a lap here in the background? No, he's just starting a lap as well as Xavi. Not improving in the first sector. Your current pole sitter struggling to improve on what was a very decent time as it stands. A 1:27.2 is not the shabbiest of laps, but he's going to have to put in something a little bit quicker than that, potentially, if he wants to keep pole position. Yellow flag in the middle sector, and that's a Mercedes who is going slow. I think that could be OP Ryan, as Will Murdoch is in the pit lane. No, it wasn't Ryan. It was obviously a car behind, as Ryan has found time in that first sector, improving by about 2/10 of a second. This will put him up in the 6th and 7th mark, very near Krypton. Very close to that outside wall, though, heading through turn number 18. He's got to be careful on that one. And then down the long run under the lights and now under the hotel. That's a very good middle sector from Ryan. That has equaled what Yossi did in the middle sector. Not quite Xavi, but it's equaled what Yossi did. Speaking of Xavi, as he found time then in the middle sector and final. Up and across the start-finish line. Xavi to increase the margin by a narrow amount, but he has increased the margin nevertheless. Big improvements from Yossi and from Renz. But next up across the line, this is going to be Ryan then, who heads and pulls to the left-hand side. Here comes Ryan. He's going to improve to 5th position. Ren's the man behind him for Alpine. Is this able to go onto the front row of the grid? It's able to go on pole. Excellent run there from Renz. Yossi entering in towards the final corner. Renz takes pole by 0.002 here. This is only the middle run of the session. Of course, they'll have one more shot at it. Here comes Yossi. Up and across the start-finish line. He's going to take pole now. First man into the 26s. 1:26.966 to be exact. And Yossi takes provisional pole position by an unbelievable margin. Just over 2.5 of a second. One McLaren performing beautifully. Can the dominant McLaren find time? He's had an unbelievable wobble there heading through turn number 11. Has got to control his car a bit better than that if he wants to take pole. Flicking it into the right-hander then. Jerry Van Bussel just seems to be struggling here. And it's the one track he does not want to struggle at. if he could wrap up the championship this evening, he would have a very easy week heading into the season finale. 1 minute and 2:59 in the middle sector. That's competitive. Despite the mistakes that this McLaren may have made, that is very competitive. And look, that car just looks like it's running on rails here. Obviously flat through this sector, but that car just looks like it is going to the centimetre of where Jerry Van Bussel puts it, through the final corner, then avoiding that Armco sponsorship on the right hand side. Here comes the championship leader. Is he able to make it a McLaren 1-2 at the top of the order? No, he is not, and it's only 6th position for Jerry Van Bussel. Slightly underwhelming, potentially slightly disappointing. We didn't quite catch his first sector, but the middle was strong. Despite a few mistakes, the middle sector was strong, but he's a lot of work to do there if he wants to take pole. Obviously, this Jeddah Corniche circuit is not decided by pole in any sort of margin. Of course, in 2021 the pole sitter was the winner, but in 2022 it was not. It was Checo Perez who took pole in 2022. It was Verstappen that ended up winning. In 2023 it was, but that was obviously due to some problems for Verstappen. Lars then in 2nd position. He's just going to head into the pit lane, I believe, because of course he did improve to 2nd position while we were focused on Jerry Van Bussel. It is currently Yossi on top here in Saudi Arabia. Lars in 2nd, followed by Renz, Xavi, Newt, Jerry Van Bussel, Devon, Ryan, Twist, Krypton, Zorzo, and then it's Ron, Johan, Will Murdoch, Gabrielle, and Kieran at the bottom of the order. Yossi heads into his garage, and he's probably not the McLaren that expected to be leading qualifying here in Saudi Arabia. In our poll in the stream chat, make sure you do pop a comment there or vote in our poll. It says, simple enough, will Jerry Van Bussel wrap up the PSF2 Championship tonight? And 88% of you have voted yes to that poll. It shows the unbelievable dominance that Jerry has provided. Of course, he took a stunning 5 victories in a row. He won in Austria, Bahrain, Azerbaijan, China and Mexico. Only took the fastest lap on one of them. Only took pole in 3 of them. So he wasn't on pole in all of them, which shows race pace is certainly an art for Jerry Van Bussel. He didn't quite get the maximum points last time out. He only took half of them. But Devon did not start, so he still extended his championship lead by 8 points. Last time out, it was Tyne who took the victory, though, and Yossi finishing in 2nd. The new drivers performing well. 3rd place last time out did go to TF Newt, so he took his first podium of the season, actually. So Newt maybe starting too little too late, but he's still picked up a good tally of 31 across the course of the season. It's just sort of been points here and there, though, for Newt. He hasn't really found any form throughout the duration of the season. Out of the garage, though, for the final time here in qualifying comes Lars, Renz, Xavi and Newt, and many more will follow. The tension building here in Saudi Arabia, because this could be a really good end to qualifying. Lars, currently in 2nd, needs to find 0.142 if he wants to take pole over Yossi, who is pretty dominant at the top of the order. Didn't take first on the banker times, but he certainly took first on the middle run. James saying in the comments that he voted no. So James has no faith in the current championship leader to seal it up this evening. No, I think that could just be James hoping that he gets to commentate a title finale. All but one out on circuit. The first man to start his run will be Kryptonite. He was the first man to start the middle run, I believe, in this session. Make sure to get your votes in on the poll. It will be closing soon. But the 6.174 kilometer circuit is what these drivers need to absolutely nail if they want a chance at taking pole here in Saudi Arabia. Krypton then gets the final runs underway. He's heading down in towards turn number 1. We're going to focus more towards the top of the order, and it'll be Lars who leads Renz across the line in very close proximity. Jerry Van Bussel, as I think I've been pronouncing it wrong for about 3 years seemingly, but it's Jerry Van Bussel, A little bit further back. Here comes Lars in towards the first sector. Turn 4, turn 5. Got to run so close to that Pirelli sponsorship on the right hand side and just flick the car in and hope it sticks. You're literally praying at this point in the session. The car is at its lightest, the grip is at its maximum, and Lars is just pushing it and feeding that car through these tight corners, and he's found a tenth of a second in the first sector. Excellent first sector for Lars. What about Renz then? We've just quite missed his delta, I believe, as the two McLarens looking to tow each other potentially at the bottom of your screen, bottom right hand corner. You can see on the track map. Here comes Lars then, ferocious through this part of the lap. That's excellent from the AlphaTauri. He is really on the limit here in Saudi Arabia. Almost heading towards the hotel. We'll see his middle sector split now. 59.8. Unbelievable! Oh, he's invalid! Oh no, it was a massive middle sector from Lars. He's invalidated here, and that will be the end of qualifying! Yossi into the wall as well. There is cars off left, right and centre, and this might be a surprise pole here. Renz still going strong. Xavi as well. What about Jerry Van Bussel? He is still up on his lap. Renz in towards the final corner. Can the Alpine go from the second row to the pole here? Pulls all the way along to the left hand side that he can. Renz improves to the front row of the grid. It's not quite pole. Here comes Xavi across the line. He gets up a spot as well. It's third for him. Newt has gone purple there, seemingly in the middle sector. It really goes to show what could have been for Xavi. He was unbelievable in that middle sector. It'll be Ron across the line next for Aston Martin. He will improve to 9th. It's the AlphaTauri of Twist there. Can he throw a spanner in the works? He's going to improve to 6th. Not the worst lap in the world. Here comes Newt across the line. He'll go to 5th. The championship leader is entering in towards the final corner. It's a PB in the middle sector for Jerry Van Bussel. And heading through the final corner, he's nailed it perfectly. Is this the run for pole for the championship leader? It'll only be 5th position, and his rival Devon is not going to get a lap in here at the death. Zorzo not going to get a lap in either, and neither will Murdoch, despite making a mistake and despite it being the closest of margins here in Saudi Arabia. Yossi is on pole for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. An excellent end to qualifying. The poll ends with 92% of people saying Jerry will wrap up the title this evening. Well, you're putting a lot of faith in them, and as it stands, Jerry Van Bussel would wrap up the title because Devon must outscore the McLaren by 7 points, and that's a 5th place with Jerry not scoring. Devon could do with a win if he wants to make this as close as possible. But that is qualifying complete then for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. An excellent end, and we will run you through your full results. It is, of course, Juventus Racing Yossi, who took a podium last time out in Budapest, who goes to Paul. NLD Renz in 2nd, followed by Xavi in 3rd, Lars in 4th, Jerry Van Bussel in 5th, Newt in 6th position, followed by Twist in 7th. It's Devon then who lines up in 8th, followed by Ryan in 9th, and Shizu Ron rounding out your top 10. It's the Belgian of Krypton who starts up in 11th, followed by Zorzo in 12th. Johan will start in 13th with Mr. Will Murdoch in 14th. Kieran not making the 107% rule. He'll line up in 15th. Obviously, he'll still be allowed race because, well, that rule basically doesn't apply anymore. Gabriel in 16th. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back after a short commercial break. Welcome back to PSGL F2, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia, the racetrack that made its debut in the 2022 Formula 1 season, the 75th venue to host a Formula 1 race, and it might be the venue that hosts the championship decider here in PSGL F2. We head back onto the on-track action. where there's just 10 seconds to go before we go lights out here in Saudi Arabia, and a race where it is nothing but simple. Let us know your predictions in the stream chat below as we get ready to go racing here in Jeddah. 2, 3, 4, 5, red lights. And we go racing here in Saudi Arabia. The lights don't hold us long. It's a very good start for Xavi off the second row. He's up and alongside the Alpine in towards turn number 1. Lars trying to dive the both of them in towards the first chicane. Jerry Van Bussel already got a spot here in what could be his maiden championship victory in the F2 Championship. Rennes got a horrid start and down to 5th position already. The Alpine not getting the best of getaways. Looks like Krypton up a spot ahead of Devon. Devon out of the points now. That's not what he wants at all, but Yossi leads here by 9/10 of a second through the first sector here in Jeddah. It looks like it's all fairly clean for now. Devon really struggling. Zorzo gets past his teammate here. The Alfa Romeo Sauber is falling and falling fast. Johan up the inside heading in towards 11 for the first time. He dives up the inside. The Alpine getting an excellent move. Kieran taking his chances. He's up 2. Devon down 6 spots on the race start. Is the pressure maybe getting to the Alfa Romeo? Will Murdoch looking to get past the Alfa Romeo Sauber as well as Devon runs across the chicane. A horrid start for the Alfa Romeo in 14th, but Yossi leads by 9/10 of a second. Lars is 4/10 adrift, and Jerry Van Bussel sets the purple middle sector here. He won't get the fastest lap, that will go to Yossi, but Jerry piling on the pressure on Lars. An excellent race start from Jerry, just what he needs to do, and now he's looking to target a move here potentially on his Talent Factory teammate of Lars. Outside to in is the aim for Jerry. He's going to get the run here down the main straight. As here he goes, Jerry just tucked up right into the slipstream of the Alpha Tauri. Is Lars going to fight this one too hard? He's going to defend to the inside, and that defence has become an attack. He almost got it down the inside of Xavi there. What a move that would have been if he had got that one done on the Aston Martin, but it was not quite to be. Jerry still piling on the pressure. Here's the AlphaTauri. He's had a real wobble heading through 4. It's not the stablest of cars. We saw that in qualifying. We saw him very wide through this section. Xavi, oh my goodness me, picking up a 3-second time penalty already. That could be quite crucial here if he wants to challenge for the race win. Jerry still just piling on the pressure of Lars. Jerry the pace setter here in Saudi Arabia. Jerry the pace setter here in the Season 33 Championship. But he's just not able to make a move stick for now, and it seems like the Saudi streets just being a little bit difficult for overtaking here in the opening phases. Devon into the pit lane on the opening lap, which would make me believe he has picked up some front wing damage because he's 24 seconds adrift now and already on the medium compound tyres. If we somehow complete the 25 laps of racing here without a safety car, I would be shocked. So probably a good strategy call from Devon there. If he did have that front wing damage, it looked like he was running unnecessarily slow. So that would be an explanation for that. Here comes Kieran. Is he able to make a move on Johan? Kieran looking for a good result here in Jeddah, as there's not been too many great results for Kieran this season. We start at 3rd lap of proceedings here, and Zorzo going to defend from Johan behind. The Alpine, is he able to dive one up the inside? No, he's just too far back there, unfortunately. And oh, the other Alpine, just as we go on board, having a little bit of a squirrel of the rear there out through the 3rd corner, or the 2nd corner I should say. Rennes maybe just struggling a little bit, as this first sector is going to get even more difficult here on this hard tyre, because the more dirty air you get chucked over your front wing, and the older those tyres get, the less grip you're going to have through that first sector. So these guys already struggling with the effects of that dirty air, it seems. Rennes, of course, being a prime example of that one. But Yossi leads by 7/10 of a second. Look, 7/10 of a second is nothing here in Jeddah. When you see the slipstream in the DRS kick in, you'll know what I mean. It is a ferocious assistance here as the DRS in Jeddah. And Xavi still well within his rights to challenge for this race win. Francie in the stream chat saying, how many points does he need? Well, Jerry needs to just not be outscored by 7 by Devon. And Devon is down in 16th position, 22 seconds adrift. So Jerry just needs to control this one and not get too greedy. And what I mean by that is, not go for any spots or moves that he doesn't necessarily need to go to. As it stands now, he would be the champion. He doesn't really need to push too much for the race victory here. I mean, he will, because it's Jerry, as it looks like Kieran trying to move on Johan in towards turn 1. Kieran has been given a right old squeeze on the second apex and now has a wobble too early on the traction, it seems, for Kieran. Too much of that accelerator press too quickly, and he's just got out of shape there heading through turn number 3, but nothing to be too frustrated about, as Devon does set the fastest lap of the race. He's just that's just a little feeler to Jerry. I am still here, Devon. Not going to make this easy for Jerry, that is for sure. If Devon can fight to the end, he will fight to the end, and that is the attitude that Devon will be coming into this one with. He knows that, look, he's not the favourite by a long shot. This one has hypothetically been wrapped up long ago for Jerry, but Devon will still be giving it all he's got, as the only gap that is not within a second here in Saudi Arabia is that gap between Will Murdoch and Devon, and that's obviously because Devon has made a pit stop, so it just goes to show how close things truly are here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Look at Zorzo, he's trying a move maybe on Krypton, not using too much of his battery, he's got to save that. That'll obviously be crucial towards the end of the Grand Prix. Because of course, battery regeneration around a circuit like this is not easy. Your battery regenerates when you are braking, and there's not an awful lot to do of heavy braking here in Saudi Arabia. As corner cut there from Johan, he's had to completely cut the second part of that chicane, so he's obviously ran wide somewhere, as Ryan seems to be the cork in the bottle. He is starting to lose time to twist in front. Up the front then, Lars still piling the pressure on Xavi. He's forced Xavi into 3 mistakes already, because Xavi's picked up that time penalty. He picked it up in the second lap of proceedings here in PSGL F2. As Jerry Van Bussel just sitting pretty in 4th, it seems. He's not, I was going to say he's not piling on too much pressure, but it seems like he may be. That was a real problem for Lars through that corner, because now he has that papaya orange McLaren right up his gearbox. Is Jerry able to make a move on the AlphaTauri, or is he just going to have to sit behind for now? Gaining in towards the left, right under the hotel. You can see a stunning complex there, but this could be a stunning overtake potentially from Jerry. No, he's lost time through that sector. Seems like Lars has recovered okay. Lars, of course, has that slipstream and DRS assistance, just like Jerry has here. Tucked into the slipstream of the Aston Martin, braking for the 27th corner here. Jerry gets close to Lars, senses an opportunity to make this one a little bit more comfortable in the long run, but not going to happen now. Is Xavi going to go for the race lead? He's gaining, and it seems like all these guys just not able to quite make the moves due to little ERS usage. They're not panicking too much, and as I say that, Lars might just be panicking there on the throttle. Here comes Krypton and Zorzo. Zorzo looking to go around the outside of the Red Bull. He's been hounding Krypton for the last couple of laps, and just look how close they get in towards turn number 4. The Alfa Romeo doing an excellent job, I have to say, of piling the pressure on Krypton. But for one of the first times in certainly drives I've seen, Krypton just looking flawless at this point. He's not really making any mistakes. Although he is in 10th, it's, as you can see by the front runners are demonstrating nicely, it's very difficult to overtake here when you're this close. If we had like maybe a gaggle of 4 cars, it might be a little bit easier, but we have everybody so close together. Here comes Jerry Van Bussel, just tucked up behind the AlphaTauri of Lars, and as he heads through turn number 19 and turn number 20, all sweeping lefts and rights, foot to the floor for all. He is just getting that little bit closer. It seems like the run through here is what's letting Jerry down a little bit. This is where he was losing time in qualifying as well, of course. It was his middle sectors that were pretty good for Jerry. It was this final sector that he was struggling the most in, and you can see just not able to get close enough to the AlphaTauri. But we're going to head through 27 and on the run back down towards turn number 1. It was a 220 metre run from pole to turn number 1, but there's plenty of overtaking opportunities around this 6.1 kilometre circuit, that is for sure, but none arising on this lap. Is Johan able to attack Zorzo late on the brakes in towards the first corner? The Alpine forces the Sauber to just run a defensive line, but not able to get the exit. And this little battle between Krypton, Zorzo and Johan is very thrilling. because they are the ones running closest to the limit, I think, here in Saudi Arabia. It's not necessarily as tense and as close up the front because there's not as much to play for, obviously. These guys are fighting for the only point here. As you can see, Johan just making a mistake, already picked up a penalty, needs to watch that. Too many penalties will cost him too many places. Kieran hungry on the back of the Alpine as well. Jerry once again getting closer in towards turn number 22. But he's just not close enough, is he? You can just see behind. Oh, I say that. Oh, I say that. As Jerry Van Bussel has launched maybe into his second wind. Here comes the McLaren, tucked up nicely behind the AlphaTauri. He's not going to be close enough here, surely. That would be reckless if he went for that one in a situation like this. But is he close enough? Maybe. On the run down towards turn number 1. The gap between Xavi and Lars and Jerry was exactly the same. But it's Jerry that's using a little bit more what he's got to try and get past the AlphaTauri in towards the first corner. It looked for the inside from Bussell. It's now the outside for the championship leader. Oh, was that close between the two? Has he got the traction here on the AlphaTauri? Oh, forced to the outside wall. Has he hit it? Has he hit it? I'm not quite sure. But he was certainly given a big shove by Lars. Lars is not making this easy for his Talent Factory teammate. I think Jerry could be okay as they've fallen out of DRS as Xavi in front. That could cost the both of them here. They don't want to trip over each other too much. Jerry looked to try go up the inside of Lars in towards turn number 1, then opted for the outside when he saw the AlphaTauri taking a defensive line. Now he's got to try do it all again, and he has Renz fairly close behind. It's not like Jerry is running a zero-risk race. If there's someone who's got something to lose here in this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, it is the McLaren, as the Alpine just hits the wall on the front left corner there. You saw the hard tire just nick the outside wall there on the right-hander of that's turn number 16, I believe. It's very difficult to remember the corners around here as Kieran flies past Zorzo, so Kieran making up spaces. He's up to 12th now, not quite a points-paying position, but he's getting closer towards that. As the helicopter shot comes in, you can just see the stunning scenery here at this Jeddah Corniche circuit. It really is a stunning place to watch a race. But it depends on what race, and this race has been quite good so far, I feel. Renz struggling out of that final corner. Newt is almost bump drafting the Alpine in towards the first corner. Newt gonna get the toe off the McLaren in front and late braking for the first corner. It's Renz up the inside. He's almost hit Bussell. He's almost hit the McLaren in towards turn number 1. That was millimetre perfect from Renz to defend from Newt. That could have gone wrong very quickly, and he might have been the most wanted man in the PSF2 Championship. But no, he's now a spectacular defender in my eyes, as the gap of the front extending to 1.7 now, so something's happened Xavi, because he had a second and a bit over Lars. It's now 8/10, and he's 1.6 behind Yossi in front. It still looks physically close, but it isn't, as Kieran's out. Kieran has crashed once again here in the F2 Championship, and he's brought out the first safety car. Kieran has crashed where the Hasemick Schumacher crashed before him. It's the exact same corner. It is turn number 11 and 12. There's a little kink in the middle of the road, so you can't really tell what one. Hopefully Devon can get there quick enough. No, the car has despawned as Kieran. That's been unfortunately a description of his season, hasn't it? He's 8th in the championship, of course. His best result is 3rd, but look, it's only been 6 points since the 5th round of the season for Kieran, and it'll be none again today, as he brings out the first safety car here in Saudi Arabia. Now, what strategy will these guys go on? This could be an interesting one. This could be a peculiar one, actually. As Yossi leads. Jerry won't be affected by a double stack, but you can see him already backing off. There's a planned pit stop in this one for one of the two McLarens, or maybe both of them. Yossi in, Xavi in as well. These guys are going to try the medium to the end. I imagine it'll work. They're fairly clued in here in the F2 Championship. Is anyone going to try a cheeky overtake into the pit lane? That's what I want to know. Because surely somebody has to try it. No, they're all not, and that's mildly disappointing, because you're allowed to overtake in the pit lane. It's technically not part of the racetrack, meaning it's technically not yellow flags. Technically. Don't really know how, but look. I'm just the one who talks on the race, I don't make the rules. As lap 10 out of 25, this medium will do 15 to the end, and I imagine Devon will be in as well. Oh, there's a wing change there somewhere along the line. I believe that's for Zorzo. It was for Zorzo who got his wing changed, so it's an Alfa Romeo 14-15. Not good for not good for Alfa Romeo, but of course Devon is only down there as he did pick up damage on the opening lap of proceedings. Let us know if you're enjoying the action here so far in PSGL F2. It has been a interesting one so far, and as of now, Jerry Van Bassel would win the World Drivers' Championship. Safety car on lap number 2. All these drivers on the medium compound of tyres then, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the penalties on your screen now. It's 3 seconds for Xavi, Johan and Will Murdoch. In terms of positional gain then, it is a position gained for Lars. It is a position gained for Newt. It's 2 for Ryan. It's 1 for Ron, who we have not really spoke about much in this race, have we? Poor Ron, not getting any stream time. It is then 3 for Johan, it is 4 for Gabrielle, and it's 1 for Will Murdoch, your biggest gain losers, of course. That is Renz, Jerry Van Bussel, actually. So, who has gone in between him there? That was Newt, I believe. So Jerry did lose time, actually, in the pit lane. He's dropped the spot. It is the Ferrari of Newt who's gone up in front, because Jerry was attacking Lars, actually. So it's all changed around a little bit into the pit lane. Should still be an exciting one though, as we are just under the safety car. It's the most corners ever on a Formula 1 circuit, of course, as I mentioned in qualifying, but it's second to Marina Bay, which is 23. 23 no longer though, as of course they're getting a bit of the final sector taken away. And it's not just a big track here in Saudi Arabia, it's also the 13th largest country in the world in terms of land mass. So that is how big the country is, literally. And interesting facts about this Saudi Arabian circuit and country across the board. The turn 13 or turn 11, or turn 13, apologies, hairpin, has a 12-degree banking, actually. We're coming up to it now, so this was perfect timing to say that. You can see we're coming up to it now, this corner here, this left-hander, turn 13, a 12-degree banking. That's 7 less than Zandvoort, if you're interested in your banking statistics, and I don't mean the money. That is 7 degrees less than Arie Lundijk Bocht in Zandvoort, but still, you know, fairly substantial for what is, other than that, a flat circuit. But let us know down below your thoughts on this race so far. It's been an interesting one, hasn't it? It's certainly been peculiar. I say peculiar because it's not been your standard Saudi Arabian race. It's not really been chaos. We've sort of had some DRS trains here and there, and we've only had one major crash so far in this race. That was, of course, Kieran, who crashed out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on the 10th lap. And we will get racing, and we'll go green flag on the 12th lap here, as Yossi, oh, look at this tyre warming. That is extravagant, I suppose you could say. He's really heating up those medium tyres. He obviously feels he needs to. He gets ready to go. Just biding his time. Surely he's not going to go before this final corner, and he does, actually. We go racing here in Saudi Arabia. Yossi gets the exit out of the final corner. Lester Brown asking who is Jerry fighting. He's fighting Devon, who sits in 15th position here. Down in towards turn number 1. Yossi gets clean away. Is there any sort of moves in the background? No. They all don't have enough temperature into their tyres. Look at the weaving here in the background. Zorzo has enough temperature in his mediums. He's going to try around the outside of Will Murdoch, the Brit, just trying to keep his nose in front here, heading through turn number 3 and in towards turn number 4. Is Zorzo able to make it stick? He is. Zorzo up to 13th. Alfa Romeo not now Second last and last, Zorzo picking up a spot here on the restart. Jerry Van Bussel looking to get past the man who jumped him in pit lane. Krypton picking up a 3-second time penalty. Here comes the championship leader. Is he going to look up the inside? No, he's just playing it very cool here, isn't he? He knows he's the championship in his back pocket as it stands. He's not taking any added risk. And Jerry Van Bussel playing an excellent race here. Playing an excellent race. Driving an excellent race, to be correct. And 0.2 of a second separating himself and Newt, 0.9 of a second separating his teammate and the man behind him of Xavi. Yossi is running a better race than Jerry. And who would have thought that would have happened? Who would have thought Jerry would have been outperformed by a teammate? The man who took 5 wins on the trot currently has 5 cars in front of him. He has Newt, Renz, Lars, Xavi and Yossi. But he doesn't need to get past them, remember, if he wants to seal this championship. We're almost at the halfway point through this race, which it's been ran unbelievably quick. That's what happens when you have a 245km/h average speed around a tight street circuit. Twist looking to try and get past Ryan, maybe, as it seems like we've just kind of reset and just ran the same as we were running before. The safety car not sparking up any new adventures. We didn't get the chaos that we got in a race restart in 2021, where there was a big collision between Checo Perez, Nikita Mazepin and others. If you can remember everyone who crashed in that one, please do let me know, because I simply don't, as Renz maybe running better than Lars. Lars, I gotta say, the AlphaTauri, and I've mentioned it a few times here in the broadcast throughout qualifying and throughout the race, it just doesn't look stable. It just does not look stable. It is sliding mid-corner a ferocious amount, and that may cause him to make a mistake. The greats obviously could battle cars like that, your likes of Ayrton Senna and Lewis Hamilton, Schumacher, Verstappen, all the best drivers in the land could all battle cars that were just that little bit slidey, but compared to those in front of Xavi and Yossi, it's just not super smooth, is it? And that's why he's losing some time. Like, let's just have a look through this corner. Wasn't bad through there, mind you. Was not bad through there, but he is under pressure from Renz here. This is the battle for the final podium position, and it's between 2 guys, so the podium would mean quite a lot for, I believe. It's just braking for this left-hander. Turn 27, of course. Ron getting mighty close to Twist. Zorzo getting close to Gabriel, and by close, I mean overtaken. As Zorzo has got the job done on the Williams here, but is Gabriel going to try fight it in towards the first corner? Look, you can just see the front wing creeping into the onboard camera of Zorzo. Zorzo tries to force it around the outside. There's a bit of contact between the two. The Williams racing's been shoved off there. There was nothing really wrong with it. It was just a bit of racing between the two, and the Williams unfortunately going to have to concede here. As back up the top is Renz, now finally getting close to Lars. The DRS going to kick in here as they exit turn number 11 and 12. The DRS is going to kick in just about... Oh no, they've removed it on the straight, haven't they? Yeah, they have. They've removed it on the straight, so there's no DRS here. There used to be, but there's none now. They've removed it as just a quick penalty check. You can see it's 3 for Xavi, 3 for Johan, 3 for Krypton, and 3 for Will Murdoch. All your penalties here in Saudi Arabia as we're almost at the 10 lap to go mark here. 14 out of 25 so far. We do 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 to go. So just 11 now, but almost the 10 lap mark. Renz, he just doesn't have enough, does he? He can get close, but he can't get past, and as one of my idols said once upon a time, the great Murray Walker, if getting close is one thing, but overtaking is another. Oh, that's late on the brakes from Renz. How he's not locked the front there is beyond me, but that was real late on the brakes, and that could cost him a bit of time, because now he's 0.4 of a second adrift heading into turn number 1. Was closer on previous occasions, has been closer, will be closer, but needs to be a bit closer soon. Apologies for that notification that you've just seen on your screen. That was the PSGL F3 invites that are coming through. That's, of course, my usual tier, as Newt still throwing his hand in the fire maybe here of potentially picking up a podium. Coming inside the corner, he won't do that because he will pick up a time penalty. That would be the last thing that he wants to do. The Ferrari, is he struggling? I wouldn't really say so, because he's performing well since coming out of the pit lane. He's kept comfortably ahead of Jerry Van Bussel. Let's ride on board with the Ferrari in the middle sector. Blackbox in the comments saying, let's go LRB and saying, Blackbox, why are you not racing? I swear you're in this tier this season. But yeah, that was LRB, who's a top quality bloke, is the only way I can say it, as Ren's, as we said earlier, not able to get close enough, really, is he? He's just not able to get close enough to Lars, as Xavi might just be under a bit of pressure here, because he's no DRS in front, he's no slipstream. Yossi has gone with the wind in front. There, you could park a boat in between that gap between Yossi and Xavi compared to what it's been. 1.8 seconds is quite substantial in the context of this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. There's 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths all around the field. 1.8 seconds. Being unbelievably large. It's 2 seconds now. By the time I've waffled on, it's 2 seconds. Yossi looking comfortable to take another win for McLaren. His first win of the season, but my goodness me, it's certainly not McLaren's. One McLaren man could win the race, one McLaren man could win the championship. There's a lot still to be decided here in PSGL F2. Ren's just hooking into the slipstream of Lars. He's just not able to gain, and that's because Lars has the same assistance in front of him. It seems like in this battle, Xavi is able to outpace Ren's, or Xavi's able to outpace Lars, I should say, and Ren's is able to outpace Lars, but because of the slipstream and the DRS and different factors, it's all just kept at a standstill. Is Newth able to get close enough to the Alpine? Forced to the outside because he did brake later. Now trying to get the up and under potentially. Oh, this is a good chance for Ren's. Ren's is real close to Lars in front. Is it going to be last of the late breakers? No, he's way too far back, isn't he? Way too far back as we get into the STC sponsorship section of turn number 1 and 2. He's closer now, but of course has to sit in the dirty air through this first sector. That will affect him now, I have to say. These guys have been really good so far in this race. We've seen one crash, that was from Kieran, where the rest of them have all been so well behaved. It's been excellently clean. There's been no real mistakes. This is a top level race from top level drivers. We did have one safety car, of course, that was on the 10th lap of proceedings, as Will Murdoch picks up a 3-second time penalty. Here comes Jerry Besselman. Is he able to launch an attack on Newth and maybe just get up the order in what could be, or what most likely will be at this point, his championship deciding race? Heading through the final sector. 0.3 of a second separates himself and the German of Newth in front. Is he able to get a bit closer? He would love to take the win here. There's a yellow flag in the final sector. That is Will Murdoch, who's gone off and just hits the wall once again. Unlucky for him, he's had a horrid race here in Saudi Arabia, picking up plenty of penalties and now making a mistake into the first corner and the second corner. Lars starting to gain on Xavi. Maybe he was just saving. He's got more battery. What's the battery situation for Ren's new? And oh, look at Jerry. He's got a full tank of ERS to play with. As Xavi's picked up another 3-second time penalty, he'll fall behind a gaggle of cars. Then come the end of the race as Jerry just running the tighter lines through this middle, or the first sector. It's the middle part of the first sector, but just running the tighter lines and gaining time on the Scuderia Ferrari in front. Will Murdoch retires from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. He'll play no further part. Neither will Gabriel, but that's a crash on circuit. That's the same place Kieran went out, and that's the same situation that's occurred then. The safety car comes out in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on the 18th lap out of 25. We lost 2 drivers on the 18th lap. We lost Will Murdoch and Gabriel in completely separate incidents. Will retired in the pit lane. Gabriel crashed on the circuit. The same thing Kieran did through 11 and 12. And that has brought out the safety car. Yossi will be screaming at his television. He had a 2-second lead. Will we see people pit for softs here, though? This is interesting. If your name is Devon, you gotta come into the pit lane and try something, because you're losing a championship as it is. Yossi... Oh, he stays out. He stays out here. So does Xavi, Lars, Renz. It seems like a lot of these guys stay out. Ron is in. Shazoo Ron is into the pit lane. So is Johan. So is Krypton. So is Zorzo. Devon stays out. So Devon does not pit for fresh softs. I thought he definitely would have been in. But he's going for track position. Obviously sees how difficult it is to overtake here. He opts for track position. Tom Roberts saying there's Olympian racing. You couldn't tell, could you? But no. That's Will Murdoch who he's talking about. Of course, we mentioned it in the introduction. Or I mentioned it in the introduction. I don't know why I'm saying we. I'm the only person here. And my goodness me, do the 33 of you watching probably know that by now. But yeah, Will Murdoch qualifying for the Gran Turismo Olympic Series. Representing the United Kingdom. You might think Will is an absolute fraud if you're an avid viewer of F2 racing, but trust me, he is one of the most unbelievably quick Gran Turismo players there is in the world. And honestly, he's the fastest man in the United Kingdom. I apologise, folks, my controller is disconnected. We will be back in 1 second, but of course we're under safety car, so this is all okay. We're back here in PSGL. Evan's controller's charged, and he may or may not have almost fallen off his chair. But we are back for PSGL F2. You've missed nothing, as it was actually the mediums that Ron, Johan, and Zorzo went for. Krypton went for the softs, so fair play to Krypton. The head steward, of course, in PSGL, and the man who runs this tier has gone for the softs, and he's going to try something. We're down to 13 runners here for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I think this could be an exciting one to the end, though. I say that with a lot of hope in my voice, because I hope it's an exciting one to the end of this race. Because if it isn't, well, that would be disappointing, wouldn't it? But as it stands, Jerry Van Bussel will win the PSGL F2 World Drivers' Championship. He's not going softs to the end, is he? He's just doing a lap on softs. Yep. He's getting a wing change. That's what's happening. Krypton goes for the mediums, and he will fall down the back of the grid, so he obviously didn't mean to go on the softs, or else he crashed again. It could be either of the two, realistically. It's more drama, says James, and Rip Control. Yeah, Rip Controller. Honestly. Apologies about that. Probably should have charged it, but James saying more drama. If you want to hear your favourite Northerner, you can tune into PSGL F1 at 8 PM with James Head and Aidan Carter. Just in case you're so sick of listening to a terrible Irish accent and you just want to hear these sweet melodic tones of a Sunderland voice. James will be in great form as well. If you follow football, Sunderland made the playoffs in the EFL Championship, so James will be in flying form. Go tune in to PSGL F1, but not until we're finished here, ladies and gentlemen, because we have a champion to crown, and Jerry Van Bussel is the man who wants to take it. But can he take it? Because Devon is a lot closer now than he was, but Devon does have quicker drivers behind him on fresher tyres, so that could cause a bit of trouble. Safety car, I imagine, will be in this lap. It'll be Yossi to get us underway for the second time here in PSGL F3. That safety car is running some weird lines, but it won't have to run any more because it is into the pit lane. And now we have the slow snake down towards turn number 27 once again. When is Yossi going to go then? He timed it perfectly on the last restart. Can he time it perfectly on this one? Xavi trying a Verstappen tactic of running up alongside the man who is doing the restart. Yossi's left it later this time, maybe senses more of a threat of the Aston Martin behind as we go racing here in Saudi Arabia. Oh, there's a huge wobble from Renz in the background. Renz is losing positions fast. Renz has completely lit up the rear through the final corner. Look at Jerry Van Bustel as well, trying to attack Newt in towards the first corner, braking for turn number 1 and 2. It's Renz round the outside of Bustel. Look at Jerry getting all caught up. There's 3 or 4 wide. There's an Alpha Tauri round. It's Lars who's round. But look at this one. Devon and Jerry were side by side for a brief moment. We're 4 wide almost. 2 by 2 we go. Noah's Ark, as a famous Sunderland voice would say. Zorzo getting spots. Krypton getting spots. Devon is down to 12th. Devon is almost down to the back. Ryan's picked up a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place. Oh, Ryan's out. Ryan's completely clattered the wall and is out through turn number 11 and 12. Will this spring another safety car? I don't think so. I think we're going to stay on the green flag running. Yossi leads this Grand Prix ahead of Xavi and Newt and Renz and Twist, and there was really a twist in the tail, but he's promoted himself up to 5th position. Jerry Van Bustel, that was a scary moment through turn number 1 and 2. He had about 4 cars knocking into the side of him at one point, and that could have been a huge moment in this championship fight for him. But it's all held out okay, and he's arguably come off much better than his rival Devon has. Johan, though, is looking to attack in towards turn 27, but at this point, honestly, Jerry could just let him through and just not fight this one. Johan knows that, and Johan with a huge run down the inside of Jerry Van Bustel. That was optimistic. I'm a very optimistic human, but I don't think I would have done that. That was an unbelievable send from the Alpine. Jerry is still defending this one. The Alpine can take a lot more risks than the man in front. He knows that if he tries something like that again, the high chances are that Jerry will just yield. Devon still fighting for his life here. Goes round the outside of the Belgian Kryptonite. But Krypton is looking to hold it round the outside, side by side, in towards the 4th corner here in Jeddah. Devon stays in front. Devon had the inside line, the better line, arguably through there, and he's got the job done on Krypton. Krypton will just have to stay behind, but Krypton will be riding his coattails for the remainder of this race, because of course he's on much fresher tyres, and he won't have much tyre degradation towards the end of this Grand Prix, where all those at the front will, and that could spark a problem. Johan still attacking the Dutchman in front of him. The Alpine is going for broke here in the PSGL F2 Championship. Is he just able to get close enough? Johan, of course, is still fighting for position. He's, of course, in 5th position in the championship. He's on 42 points. He's 12 behind TF Black Box in front, and with Black Box not here this evening, and Black Box not doing the last 3 races. And Ray, if you're still watching, I think a safe bet is that you're not doing the last one either, so he has still something to fight for here. Is the Alpine able to go around the outside of Bustle in towards the final corner? He's nudging the back of the McLaren, but he wasn't able to make a move, and will try to get the exit now. He has Shazoo Ron behind as the DRS being enabled now for the final time in this Grand Prix. We have 3 laps to go in the potential title decider. Kryptonite and Devon still side by side, and Krypton gets the job done this time in towards the first corner and the second corner, and he's well in front now, heading through the kink of 3. Yossi leads by 0.5 of a second, but it's not convincing. The 2 cars behind him do have time penalties. This would be a first PSGL F2 victory for Yossi if he was able to take it. Of course, took no points on debut in Mexico, took a second last time out in Hungary. And the new kids on the block are really showing the old folks up here in the championship. I say old folks, they're probably the same age, but you all know what I mean. They are really showing the experienced drivers up in this championship, I suppose you could say. And they are really showing that they can compete with the best. Zorzo picking up a 3-second time penalty. Penalty is going to decide this one, because of course if we do gap to the leader, we will see that Xavi and Newt, they have 6 and 5. That's not the gap what I wanted to do, but you can see now there, the gap between last and first is only 7.4 seconds. If you have a 6-second time penalty, that's not very good, is it? Devon, or Newton I should say, could easily fall out of the points here. Twist right behind Renz in the background. Ron and Zorzo side by side. Zorzo going to the outside, has actually tapped that outside wall. He'll fall behind Ron now, but is he able to make a lunge potentially in towards the first corner? We start the penultimate lap of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Look at Twist as well, trying the outside of Renz. He's not going to make that corner. No way is that AlphaTauri going to make it through one, and he has to lift off and allow Renz back through. He's now under pressure from Jerry Van Bussel, heading through turn number 4. The McLaren just needs to make no mistake now, because he's 2 laps to go here to seal the title in PSGL F2. Lars pitting maybe for a fastest lap, maybe to retire. We'll find out in a couple of moments, that's for sure. Zorzo still looking to get past Ron here. Ron, of course, got past the Alfa Romeo in towards turn 27. The gap is 0.5 of a second between Xavi and Yossi. Yossi pretty much has this one in the bag. He's been flawless from the pole, and he will pick up a grand slam if he can take that fastest lap, but I don't think he will, because of course there's much fresher tyres throughout the field. Heading through the middle sector on the penultimate lap, everything has just calmed down. Not if your name's Jerry Van Bussel, because he's going for more. Jerry is not satisfied with 6th. He backs out. Look, there was something that's just kicked in his brain there that goes, this is not a clever move to go for, and it wasn't a clever move to go for, but he's going to go for it now. Sees the red light flashing. That means Twist is regenerating the battery, and that means Jerry Van Bussel has a clear run to the outside of the AlphaTauri. Trying around the outside. This is so risky on the penultimate lap of a championship, but that's why he's the champions elect. What a move from Jerry Van Bussel. He's put everything on the line here, as there is a swap for the lead. Xavi takes the race lead here in PSGL, but he does have penalties. Van Bussel's got past Renz. It's all kicking off on the last lap. Jerry is just never satisfied, is he? There's a reason he was able to take 5 wins in a row. There's a reason he's got 2 spots and 2 corners. He's actually hit the wall. He's actually hit the wall here. Does Jerry have damage? No, I think he's okay. He's lost a bit of momentum and does not have DRS in front. But my goodness me, is this drama just kicking off as Renz is out. Oh, what a performance this would have been from NLD Renz, but he's crashed and is out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It has been drive to survive for some elements here in this race, as Zorzo gets past Twist here heading into the middle sector. Yossi will still win this one as it stands due to a penalty count, but the championship will be decided heading through the final corners. We're in towards the end of the middle sector now. There's just a few corners to go. Jerry Van Bussel is going to drive this one home. There's a reason he's going to be the champion, because he didn't need to take any risks. He still took those risks and executed them to absolute perfection. Yossi's going for the race lead. Yossi backs off. It's not going to be enough for him. Ron is going to try it around the outside. Jerry's still defending like he needs every point. But when I first came across this man on his first race in PSGL F5, he was a talent from the offset. He's a talent here in 2023. He's also champion of the world here in PSGL F2. It's a McLaren 1-2 here in Saudi Arabia. It's McLaren's day. It's joy that the team from England needs so badly in Formula 1, but it will be nothing but joy here in the Jeddah Corniche circuit, and the party in the paddock will be all surrounding the mighty Dutchman who takes his PSGL F2 championship. Nobody was going to take that one off him. Nobody deserves that championship more. 5 wins, 6 podiums. If you're going to win it, that's the way to do it. Jerry Van Bussel is your World Drivers' Champion. And also a big shout out to Ron, by the way, because he still went for that move around the outside. That was a crazy end to the race. That was magnificent. As we will see, the other McLaren stand on the top step of the podium. Yossi won that one from the pole. I'm not too sure he actually got it across the line, meaning he technically didn't lead every lap, but the penalties kicked in, and Yossi will lift the championship victory trophy. Gonna try and catch an interview from your podium and, of course, your champion. I'll see if I can get Jerry and Yossi in there. I hope there's no audio coming through from Sorso, because I can't hear it. But your final race results then here in PSGL F2. the McLaren, whose name is on everyone's lips, is not the one that takes the win in Saudi Arabia. It's Yossi who leads and wins from pole position. It was Jerry who came second, followed by Ron in third, takes an excellent podium for Aston Martin. Twist in fourth, followed by Xavi in fifth, Johan in sixth, Newth in seventh, Zorzo in eighth, Devon in ninth, Krypton in 10th, followed by Lars, Renz, Ryan, Gabrielle, Will Murdoch and Kieran. From Renz down, unfortunately, where your non-finishers will try and get an interview from your podium, so do not go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to go somewhere after the interviews, you can, of course, check out PSGL F1 and PSGL F3. We will try and get interviews in. I just almost sent the message into the F3 channel, which would have been not great, but we will try to get an interview from your top three, which of course includes our Drivers' Champion. Seemingly Newt can also get his penalty removed, ladies and gentlemen, so that might be a podium for the German and Newt. Unfortunately, Ron may fall off the podium, it's very unfortunate for Ron because he's a bit of a fan favourite. I know Francie was cheering for him in the stream chat. He is a bit of a fan favourite. As Jerry, despite winning the championship, is concerned about the fact that he dropped 5 seconds back for an illegal overtake, and he's now saying that he shouldn't have done it. I think Jerry, I don't think that's the most concerning thing. Oh, I don't think that is your biggest concern for today. As we're going to hear from Yossi, hopefully, as he has agreed to do an interview. Jerry hasn't yet. I hope we can hear from our champion. I do feel bad that, unfortunately, James and Connell couldn't get to crown your champion. But I'm not complaining at the fact I got to do it. As no, Jerry's actually going to engineer. As is Yossi going to join us. He's not in the waiting room just yet. Hopefully we can get to hear from him, but of course confirmation that Jerry Van Bussel is your Drivers' Champion. An excellent performance from him, but it was Yossi that won in Saudi Arabia. Ron did pick up third. As I actually do hope we do get an interview now. I don't really mind who joins. If Will Murdoch wanted to join at this point, I'd take it, because I've promised you guys an interview. Trying to get one, as hopefully we can get Yossi to join. I don't think we are, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think we're going to get Yossi in. But nevertheless, folks, thank you very much for joining myself here in PSGL F2. I do hope you enjoyed it. Nonetheless, we have crowned the champion of Jerry Van Bussel, but still an excellent evening of racing. Oh no, we're not going anywhere. Here is Shazoo Ron, ladies and gentlemen. Ron, hello. Hello, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I didn't think we were going to get any interviews, but thank you for saving me. It was a P3 in the end for you. We don't know how it's going to go in terms of penalties, etc., etc. But that looked a difficult race. You took it on the last lap. How did that race go for you?
How did it go? I mean, I had fun. Didn't really prepare. Haven't prepared for the past few races, but just I mean, for the past 3 races, I haven't done quali, so I thought I'll just start in the back and do my own thing. But this time I decided to do a few quali laps and see what happens. And now I'm convinced that I have to do a few quali laps to perhaps get more podiums, because I haven't been in a commentator's box for a long time.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back here. And of course, you went for a bit of a bold overtake on what we now know is our champion. Were you still taking the risk of going for the move in the final corner no matter who's in front of you, or did you have something in your back of your mind that was like, right, I can't really take him out here?
Yeah, well, I don't want to take. I didn't want to take him out, obviously, but yeah, I thought I'll go for it. I mean, I tried to do the switchback, but Cherry kind of covered it. I guess I just positioned the car a bit wrong, but yeah, it was a good fight. He left me enough space, so GG's to him, and obviously congratulations to Jerry for winning the championship.
Brazil next week, of course. There's not much to fight for in terms of the victory, but still plenty to fight for yourself. Is it a track you like? Is it a track you enjoy?
Yeah. I mean, I don't enjoy the track, but we had like a team event where me and Joey had to race, so we did quite a lot of practice for it. But yeah, I mean, my fight obviously is with Will Murdoch. I think we should be tied on points now. So, Will, if you're hearing this, you're gonna get absolutely smoked next week.
Will, you are being smoked by Ron next week. And Ron, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations on the podium. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, as mentioned in the interview, we head to Brazil next week, to Sao Paulo, in what should be an interesting race. It'll be your usual commentary crew of James and more games back next week. But from myself, Evan, and from Ron, who did the interview, thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time. Bye-bye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.